Hi guys. Today our goal is to use the associative and commutative properties to make addition easier. We've already talked about these properties, but we're going to review them next. Okay, so here's the commutative property. The commutative property states that we can add two or more numbers in any order and get the same sum. Okay, so that means that we can take 16 plus 22 plus 3, right? And we can switch it up. We can change the order in any way we want. So we can decide that 16 plus 22 plus 20 plus 3 doesn't really work for us. So we can change it. We can say 22 plus 16 plus 3 is easier for us to do. So these two mean the exact same thing. We can come up with the exact same sum, which is the answer to an addition problem, right? So here is our commutative property one more time. We can add two or more numbers in any order and get the same sum. So we can take these three numbers, 16 plus 22 plus 3, and switch them around to 22 plus 16 plus 3, and we come up with the same sum. In the associative property, we can add groups of add-ins. Those are the numbers that you're adding. You can add groups of add-ins in different ways and still get the same sum. So it's a little different than the commutative because we're not switching around the order. We're switching around the order in which we add them. So here's our example for this one. Okay? If we have 16 plus 7, and they're in parentheses, that means we have to add them first because they're in parentheses. And then we add 23, then that should equal the same thing. We should get the same sum as when we group them in a different way. 16 plus 7 plus 23. Okay, remember the parentheses mean that we have to do those first. So in the first one, we would be adding the 16 plus 7 and then adding the 23. In the second one, we add the 7 plus 23 first and then add the 16. So notice we didn't switch the order in which we wrote them. We switched the order in which we added them. So we're adding the 7 plus 23 first in the red one and 16 plus 7 first in the second one. This is the associative property. It means we can add the groups of add-ins in different ways and still get the same sum. So here's our first example. Mrs. Gomez sold 33 cucumbers, 38 tomatoes, and 42 peppers at the farmer's market. How many vegetables did she sell in all? Well, first we need to look at our clue word, right? In all. That means we're going to do what? We're going to add. That's right. So we're going to add first, and we need to see what we're going to add. So the first thing we need to do is line the numbers up by our place value. Okay, so let's look at them all. We have 33 cucumbers, 38 tomatoes, and 42 peppers. Okay, so let's take our pen tool, okay, and I'm going to write them down. 33 plus 38 plus 42. Okay, see how I lined them up? I lined them up with my units all lined up and then my tens all lined up. You have to make sure that your place values are completely lined up before you add. Now we're going to group them a little bit differently, okay, because we're using the associative property which says that we can group them in any order and still get the same sum. So for example, I'm going to take the 8 and the 2 together in the units place. Remember, units is the same as the ones place. In the units place, the 8 and the 2, that's 10. I'm going to try to group my things into easy numbers that I can add. So my 8 and 2, it makes 10, okay? Then we know that 10 plus 3 is what? 13. That's right. So we're going to put our 3 down here and carry the 1. Put down the 3, carry the 1. Okay? Now I'm going to move to my tens place. Now I need to look at these numbers and see how I can group them. Well, right away I see that 3 plus 3, I know what that is because it's a double. It equals 6. Okay? And then my 4 and my 1, I know that that's 5. My 4 and my 1 together, I'm going to look at both of these. Okay? And that equals 5. I'm running out of room on my slide, but you can tell 5 plus 6 equals 11. So then I put my numbers down here. Okay? So the first thing I did was I lined up my numbers in order to add them. The second thing I did was I took my units and I grouped them into easy to add numbers. Then I went into my tens place and I grouped those into easy to add numbers. The 3 plus 3 equals 6, and 1 and 4 equals 5, so 5 plus 6 equals 11. So I put it down because I don't have anything in the hundreds place, so I don't need to add this 1 into the hundreds place and carry it over. So 113 what? How many vegetables did she sell in all? 113 vegetables. We can't leave it blank, remember guys, because we can't have any naked numbers. No naked numbers. We always have to have a label on our numbers, okay? So we have 113 vegetables, all right? And I'm just going to write veggies. She sold 113 vegetables. Now let's go ahead and do another example. Okay, let's do another example. Let's look at these three numbers. We're going to add them together. 36 plus 37 plus 51. Okay, and we want to know what that adds up to. Well, remember, what's the first thing we need to do? The first thing we need to do is line them up. So we're going to line up 36. Now I'm going to take my 37 and make sure that my place values are lined up. And then 51. Okay? That's the first thing I need to do. But then I need to group. Well, what can I group? Let's see. I'm going to take the 37 and the 51, and I'm going to group them together. Okay? I'm going to group them together. I know that this, my 7 plus 1 equals 8, and my 5 plus 3 equals 8. Those are easy to add together to me because I don't have to do any regrouping. I don't have to carry. I don't have to change anything with those. I just simply add. So in my units place, I have an 8. And in my tens place, I have 8. So that equals 88. So now I'm going to change my problem to show 36 plus 88. Now here's the problem after I put together the 37 and the 51. So now I just have to add 36 and 88. Okay, so now I'm going to add my 6 plus 8. 6 plus 8 equals 14. So I'm going to put down my 4 and carry my 1. Then I'm going to add this together. 8 plus 3 plus 1 equals 12. Okay, or I can say 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 8 is 12. So then I will take my 12 and I'll put it down here. Okay, so 36 plus 37 plus 51 equals 124. So let's review just one more time. Look at the commutative property. The commutative property, again, says that I can add 2 or more numbers in any order and get the same sum. Okay, so I'm going to take these 4 numbers. Okay, I'm going to take these 4 numbers and I'm going to group them in a different, or I'm going to put them in a different order. Okay, I'm going to move them and put them into this order. 11 plus 19 plus 16 plus 14. Notice how I'm keeping my numbers lined up, okay? Keeping my place values lined up. But now look what I can do. then I can use the associative property to group them in different ways. This is 1 plus 9 is 10, and 6 plus 4 is 10. Now what do I have here? I have a double. So I can make my answer. What's 10 plus 10 is 20. Put down my 0, carry my 2, and then I can add all of my 1's together. 1, get my pointer. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 2 is 6. So I have 60. So first, guys, look, I used the commutative property to switch the order. I took this order over here and I changed it. I put the 19 before the 16. That's using the commutative property. Then I came over here and I used my associative property, okay, because my associative property says that I can group them in different ways and still get the same sum. So I use my commutative property and put them in a different order, and then I used my associative property and I grouped my add-ins to help make my addition easier. So, one last review. We went over the commutative, and we got to learn how to spell it, commutative property and the associative property of addition, okay? We used both of these properties to help make our addition easier, okay? Remember this one, the commutative property states that we can add 2 or more numbers in any order and get the same sum. And the associative property says that we can group add-ins, those are the numbers that you're adding together, we can group add-ins in different ways and still get the same sum. All right? We used commutative and associative property of addition to make our addition problems easier. So I want you to be thinking about how you can use these two properties when you're doing addition problems to help you think through them in a different way. Make them easier for yourself. What numbers go together easier for you? When you can put a 1 and a 9 together, you know that's a 10. You can add that quicker and easier in your head than maybe a 6 and a 5. So you can rearrange your add-ins. Now you can't change the numbers, but you can change the order that they're in, and you can group them in your head or on your paper in different ways. So let's be thinking about that together when we practice today.